Good morning and welcome to today's session of Imagine America Radio, our continuing Career College Exposition webinar series. My name is Bob Martin. I'm the President and CEO of the Imagine America Foundation. I want to welcome all of our visitors to our sixth season of the IAF Career College Exposition webinar series, where we have now produced and distributed more than 165 webinars like today's session, with a total viewer and listeners now surpassing 6,500 local educators and counselors. To our continued listeners, thank you so much for your continued support. We really, truly appreciate it. For our new listeners, welcome, and we hope you're going to enjoy today's session. I'm excited about today's career topic. Is a career degree the only ticket to success? Sponsored by Universal Technical Institutes, or UTI. UTI is this country's leading provider of high-quality, career-focused education at 18 locations nationwide. UTI is also a 24-year sponsor of the Imagine America Scholarship and Award programs, having now provided admissions-based financial aid to more than 12,000 enrolling Imagine America students just since 2016. Without taking valuable time from our presenter, let me refer any and all inquiries about the Imagine America Foundation to our website, which is www.imagine-america.org. Since our beginning in 1999, Imagine America remains the leading sponsor of scholarship aid to enrolling high school students. However, our country continues to face a never-ending, serious shortage in certified technicians. We hear from employers in virtually all sections of the country desperately looking for quality employees, and we simply need to do more like today's webinar. Our partner in today's presentation, Universal Technical Institute, or UTI. Joining us today to discuss in detail the looming technician shortage and how UTI is helping meet that need is Dr. Stephen Coyle. Dr. Coyle is a nationally recognized expert in this area with an extensive K-12 background. But before turning the program over to Dr. Coyle, let me very quickly go over today's agenda. Today's session of Imagine America Radio will be 30 minutes maximum. That will include questions and answers. Once we finish these remarks, we're going to move directly into today's presentation. All participants can submit questions while the presentation is in session via the Q&A feature on the Zoom meeting. At the end of the presentation, I'm going to present all questions that are offered by the participants. We're going to address as many questions as possible and provide written responses if necessary in follow-up emails. We will have a hard close at 10:30 a.m. So without taking any more time out of today's presentation, let me turn today's session over to Dr. Stephen Coyle. Dr. Coyle, the stage is yours.
Well, thank you, Bob, for that introduction. And hello, everyone. I'm excited to be here with you. I know you're very busy people, and so I appreciate taking a few minutes out of your day to spend with me. I want to give a special shout out to John Chambers, who's joining us on this webinar today. John Chambers is our area vice president for the Western United States and is in Texas. So I'm glad he was able to join us today. So let's go ahead and get started. We know today that there is definitely a movement in this country towards CTE, STEM career pathways. We know that I've been doing this now for almost 9 years, and when I first started out, it wasn't so much like that. There was a lot of pushback with educators, but I'm seeing a huge change in that. Definitely, you are seeing a change in students and what they're looking for, and these type of career pathways are becoming more and more popular with students as they look for career pathways to fit their needs. Gen Z kids, these are your students. These are the students you're working with right now. Gen Z students they're a different group, aren't they? You know, they definitely look at things a little bit differently than maybe what we did. Me as being a baby boomer, and some of you being millennials and maybe Gen X's and Gen Y's in there. But the Gen Z kids, they value education. There's no doubt about it. They know that they need training, and they want to get into a good career, and they want to make money. However, they're questioning going to school for 4, 5, or 6 years to attain that. They're looking for other alternatives. they're getting labeled as lazy because they don't want to go that long. That's just not true. They're not lazy. They're just looking at it differently. They don't want to take on the debt that their parents did and their grandparents did, but yet they want a quality education. And what's really exciting about the Gen Z group is that they are they're go getters. They really want to achieve, but they want it now. They're not patient people. They're the ones that they don't email. They text, they Snapchat, they Instagram. They want things now. But what's really exciting about this group is for the first time we're identifying a group of students as the tool belt generation. It's really, really interesting to see that because for the first time, we're actually seeing an entire generation of students that are committing to the trade schools and schools of those types. And that's really exciting for me to see because it tells me that they do recognize there is value in this sector of education. For so long, we've looked at these as hobbies or an alternative, or it's like, well, if you can't do this, if you can't become a doctor, well, you can always be a welder. Well, if you can't become a veterinarian, you can always work on cars. Anybody can do that. It's not true. These are highly trained technicians, and this group is really seeing that, and it's coming through in what they're looking for, and what it is that they want to do. You of course recognize this guy, Mike Rowe from America's Dirtiest Jobs, and Mike Rowe is he's the leading advocate here. He's the one that's really catching on with this Gen Z group and talking about the tool belt generation. What I love about when he says there's no collar colors anymore. We used to be, we were blue collar, we were white collar. That's just gone away now. Now we all have collars. Just depends on if they're big collars or little collars, I guess. It doesn't matter. But now we're looking at all of these types of career pathways as possibilities, and that's what's really exciting is that for the first time, this generation is looking at this as a viable option. 85% of your students value a skilled trades career. They're looking at it. They're thinking about it. They're talking about it. But only about 16% will likely follow through on it. Say, well, how can there be such a difference in that from 85% to 16%? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Number one is that we're not doing a really good job of explaining to these kids that, hey, these are valuable skills, and you can make a lot of money in these career pathways that they're here. We're also not doing a very good job with parents. Parents are putting a lot of pressure on these kids. No, you got to go to college. That's what we aspired for you. That's what we've been saving for. And then when their son comes home and says, hey, I want to be a welder, it's not sitting well. You can only imagine that conversation when the daughter comes home and says, hey, I want to be a welder. No, you're our kid. You're not going to do that. We have higher aspirations. The other problem we have, kind of what I just alluded to, is the underrepresentation of women in STEM skills. We know right now that about 27% of all CTE careers are filled by females. That's sad. That's got to change. And we're trying to do something about that here at UTI, and we've had quite a bit of success with it, and I'll talk about that here in just a couple of minutes. So where did this all start? You must go to college in order to get a good job. This started back in 1971, Griggs versus Duke Power and Energy. Back then, everybody took aptitude tests or skill tests or some type of an assessment test to see what they were good at. And, it worked. Well, then Griggs comes along and says, well, I don't think these are fair. They're not constitutional because people in Texas have a different set of experiences than someone that lives in Kansas or somebody that lives in Idaho or somebody that lives in California. So these tests aren't fair. So they threw them out. Duke Power and Energy goes, okay, that's all well and good. Now what do we use? We don't have the aptitude test any longer. We don't have the assessment test. What are we going to use to decide how to hire employees? We'll use a bachelor's degree. If you have a bachelor's degree, you're automatically qualified. You're automatically smart. You can do anything because you have the bachelor's degree. And although it's not as prevalent as it once was, it's still out there. It's getting better. I can absolutely say that, but it's still a factor. So the old smart versus the new smart. I talk about this a lot to educators. In fact, I was just in Texas last week at the Lone Star State School Counselor Conference and talked about this very subject. The old smart, the emphasis is put on getting into the best school out there. It always tickles me when I hear about a school that says, "Yeah, we're number one in this. We're the best in this. Oh, we're in the top five here or there." I live in Missouri, and of course, Missouri University is known for journalism. So they're supposed to be the number one school in the country for journalism. Says who? Who makes that determination? I guess maybe the parents who send their kids there. I don't know, but we put everything, the emphasis on the school. We have to get our kids into the best school out there. And how do we do it? Well, we make them take all the hard subjects. They start in middle school, and then they're taking algebra now in the 8th grade instead of in their freshman or sophomore year, so they can take more advanced math. We're getting them into trigonometry and calculus. We're taking the weighted courses. We're taking the AP courses. We're taking all the dual credit courses. And then on top of that, we have to get that resume ready. So we're going to help every little old man and little old lady across the street, because that's going to look good on our resume. We're going to paint the restrooms out the park because that's going to look good in our resume. And all of that is to get us into the best college, get the student into the best college they possibly can. Then they get there, and it's like, well, hopefully they figure out what it is that they want to do, because they haven't given any thought to what at that part. All they've been given their thought to is getting into that best school, and I guess hoping that they offer what they want. Then they graduate. They say, "Here I am, world, hire me." And it's just not working any longer. So we move to the new smart. What's the new smart focus on? The student. What a novel idea. We're going to focus on what the student wants, what's best for that particular student. And remember, I said student. I didn't say students. I didn't say plural. I said student. We got to stop cookie cutting these kids. That they're not all going to go the same career pathway, and we can't force them to do that. So with the new smart, get into a good career, that starts in the elementary and the middle school levels, where we start looking at, what are the different types of careers are out there. And then we begin in the high school. For those of you that don't have presenters coming into your school, that's a huge miss for you. At UTI, we're in 10,000 high schools a year. We have 153 reps out there that are covering the entire United States, and they're going into schools not to deliver a UTI infomercial, but to show kids what is out there available. I always, when I do the in-person conferences and I speak there, I'll say, "How many of you know what CNC is?" And only a few people raise their hands. They don't even know what that is. So if you don't know what it is as an educator, how are your students going to know? That's why it's important to have presenters come into your school and talk to your students about what is available out there. All the different career pathways that they can go that they may have never heard of. So that's one little tidbit I would give you. Another one is get industry involved in your school. Industry wants to work with you, and they have something you don't have. They have money. You don't have a budget. I know. I'm a retired educator. I know what that's like, and they can help you with that. Another one is, are you having college fairs at your school? You're probably all shaking your head. "Oh yeah, we do college fairs." No, we don't want to do college fairs anymore. Let's do career fairs. All right, when you say college fair, what's that? What message is that saying to the kid? Oh, if I'm going to college, then I guess this fair is for me. But this needs to be a career fair so that all of your students are looking for opportunities. All of your students, you want all of your students to come there and look and see what's going on, and treat them all the same. I can tell you that back in my days as a rep, I went to a couple of college fairs, and me and a few of the others, we were put in the back of the room because we weren't college per se, like they were looking for. So they put us off to the side. It's not fair to your students. Treat everything equal, because your students are looking for those type things. And then what is the ultimate thing we're looking for here? We want to find the right school for each student. Why would you send one of your students to Texas Tech or Texas A&M or the University of Texas if they want to go to cosmetology school. That just doesn't make sense. They want to learn how to do nails and hair. So get them to a good cosmetology school as opposed to just send them off to the college or university and hope that they can pick something up. Those are good schools, but they have their place. Every school does. So it's important for us as educators that we work on career readiness and career pathways. So I love this slide. This is, perception. Perception of an employer, of an employee, and then of an employee of themselves. For instance, professionalism and work ethic. This particular employer rated this particular employee at 42.5% proficiency. But that same employee rated themselves at almost 90%. You go, wow, they thought a lot of themselves, didn't they? How that's quite a gap. And then oral and written communications, 41.6%. They rated themselves at almost 80%. So how can there be such a discrepancy here in what an employer sees of that employee and what the employee sees of themselves? I have a theory. When kids are little, do we let kids fail? No, we don't. Everybody gets a medal, a ribbon, a trophy. Everybody gets recognized. Nobody's left behind. We say, well, we're not going to keep score. That's not important. So we're not going to have any winners and losers. And so we start that and we keep that going through school. And then the first time they witness or they experience failure is when they get here. And that's not good. That's too late. What I'm telling you is that failure is a bruise. It's not a tattoo. It's okay for kids to fail. That's how they learn. That's how they get better. We don't have to be mean about it, but we need to be demanding of these kids. You can do better. We're not going to settle for that. You can do better than you're doing. And there's nothing wrong with pushing these kids. You all know parents who've done their kids' homework. You all have. You've all experienced that, right? Or that their parents finished the project for them so they'd be done in time. And then when they use the excuse, well, they're just too busy. Well, we can't keep bailing these kids out. It's important they understand that that they need to be held accountable for themselves and what they do, because that's how they learn. That's how they get better. This is a statistic I'm not very proud of, but it's one I always like to bring up. 5 out of 10 people walking around with a bachelor's degree or higher are not using it. And what's even sadder, they didn't need it in the first place. I talk to counselors sometimes about, I was in South Carolina doing a conference there. I was in the gift shop talking to a lady there, getting ready for my presentation. She was asking me about what I do. And so I was telling her, and then she said, oh, I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. And I go, wow, okay, so what did you do before this? Oh, nothing. I've worked here for 10 years. And I've done retail my whole life. Here she is with a bachelor's and master's degree, and nothing wrong with that. It's fine. I'm sure she's proud of herself for getting that. That was a lot of hard work, but that's just the point. That was a lot of hard work, a lot of money put out, a lot of effort put out for something not even using. You go to a car dealership and you buy a new car, and you pull it in the garage, you just leave it there. Hey, I got a new car. I'm not going to drive it, but I got a new car. That goes back to career readiness, career pathways. We have to get these kids prepared for what it is they want to do and give them the proper education that they need. So why consider a trade school? I've listed 7 reasons here of why you should consider it. Number 7, it costs less. You're not going to be there that long. Our average program is about a year in length. We have programs anywhere from 7 months to 24 months. And that's so because you're not there that long, it's not going to cost as much money to attend. Classes are smaller and more focused. Our student-teacher ratio is around 20-1, give or take, somewhere in there, which the kids can get individualized attention. You go to the major colleges and universities, they've got gen ed classes where they've got 700, 800, 1,000 or more in those classes because they're just trying to get them through those gen ed courses, and they don't get any individualized attention. And that's one of the reasons why the dropout rate's about 65%, because the kids lose interest and they drop out because they're not getting the attention they need. Offer a compelling career pathway. For instance, with us, you can't just come to UTI. You can't get online and apply and come in. You can't show up the door and say, here I am, put me in a seat. You have to go through an interview process with a representative. We have representatives, I said, all over the country, and they meet with the student and their family to make sure this is what they want to do. We want to make sure that not only they're a good fit for us, but that we're a good fit for them, because they're going into a career pathway that they've chosen. We're not a place where they come in and discover themselves or experience themselves. They know what that is they want to do, and we really drill down on that with the student. Competitive salaries. You all have hired people in the skilled trades. You know the kind of money they can make. Very competitive salaries. We've thought for years that oh, these are just hobbies, something like that. That's not true. These kids can make very good wages, in their careers, and the opportunity for advancement is great there as well. Number 3, harder to export. I always talk about my Volvo XC40. I love my Volvo XC40. It's a Swedish car. I don't send it to Sweden to get the oil change. Do it right here in this country. So, these jobs are not exported. They're right here in this country, and they're not going anywhere. Number 2, provide job placement assistance. Always use my own family. My son went to a trade school type of program, and he had 5 offers before he graduated. My daughter, she went into film. And she moved out to New York. She worked for 6 months for a company before they hired her. So there's a huge difference. Job placement is very important to us. We feel like that's part of our program. It's not just getting them educated, but getting them into a career. I mean, that's why they came to school in the first place, isn't it? And then number 1, flexible learning. We're able, because of the hands-on learning, we're able to meet the needs of kids from alternative schools. The kids have been labeled troublemakers that are really not troublemakers. They're just bored because they learn differently. We're able to meet the needs of those with an IEP because we're Title IV funded. So we're able to meet those needs with them if they need extra time on tests or things of that nature. So the flexible learning and that hands-on learning enhances their ability to be successful and to do well. So, you look at this, and one word that should stand out here is the word essential. And these are not essential because we teach most of them. Did you catch that, John? I said most of them. We teach in a lot of these different areas, but they're essential because think of your life without them. You look at that. Now you might say aircraft mechanic or avionics technician. That's really not important to me. Well, maybe not to you, but tomorrow morning at 5:40 a.m., I'm going to go get on an American Airlines plane and fly to Chicago. So that person's very important to me. Or you might say plumber. Is that really essential? Well, not until the toilet doesn't flush. Then that's your BFF. So, these are important, and they all have 2 things in common. They're high demand, and they all pay well. So I told you about the Women in STEM that we've done. We started this 4 years ago. We have this going. Ashley Gestel, my colleague, she's been heading these up this year. And our mantra is you can't be what you can't see. We're trying to get girls involved in STEM careers by showing them what's out there available at our campuses. And then we bring in a panelist of STEM, successful STEM people. And so these girls can ask them questions like, hey, how did you do? Were your parents upset with you? What did your boyfriend say? And at the end, we have them fill out cards. I like watching cars go fast, but wow, today I couldn't stop smiling. I was intrigued with everything. We opened a door for this young lady so she could see what's available to her that she didn't know. We offer over $15 million in scholarships and grants. What's sad is we don't give half of it away, but there is money available for kids to go to school without a doubt. Industry relationships, that's important to us, and it should be important to you too when you're getting these people involved in your schools as well. Our tuition reimbursement incentive program, or TRIP, has proven to be highly successful. We have almost 8,000 TRIP locations nationwide that will pay off students' their student loans. They'll give them incentives to come work for them. They're all looking for the same technician, so they have to have bait to get them in. And so the TRIP packages are very good. We got some exciting ones in Texas and in the southern United States that students can qualify for, a way to get their education paid for. And of course, we're on social media. You can find us there. I'm big on Instagram, so you can follow me there. And this is my contact information. My email address, my phone number. Please reach out to me. Follow me on Instagram. I'll follow you back, I promise. But I learned a long time ago, it doesn't matter how many possessions you have, doesn't matter how much money you have. But do you have your own QR code? Because there's mine right there. So take a shot of that. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you, good, bad, or indifferent. I don't care. We just want to partner with you any way we possibly can and help support you and the work that you do. Thank you so much for your time today, and have a good rest of your school year.
Great job, Stephen. Thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. Okay, first question right out of the box. Stephen, uh, caller wants to know, what can my student get from Universal Technical Institute that they can't get from the local community college?
Okay, well, and I get this question all the time. Let me first say, all schools are good. You're never going to get me to bash another school, because as long as students are doing something to further themselves, I'm all about it. There is a place for the community colleges, no doubt about it. But we are not a community college. And people will say all the time, oh, you're the same thing. No, we're not. For a couple of reasons. Number one, the length of time you're going to be in school. Community college, you're going to be there at least 2 years, and maybe a little bit longer. Our programs are anywhere from 7 months to 24 months, depending upon the program they want to do. Number two is we don't do the gen eds. And many of these type of students, that's what they're trying to do, is avoid the gen eds. You go to community college, you're going to take those. And I'm not saying those are bad, but some students are just not looking for that. They want to get in and get their hands dirty and start learning right away. We are a true STEM school. By the way, there's only 38 of those in the entire United States, and we're one of them. So our curriculum is permeated with STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math. But we don't do it just like where you're going to do algebra all day. We're going to put them on the dyno, which is a treadmill for a car, and they're going to get to use algebra and geometry when they're doing that. And then the third one is our alliances with the manufacturers. We have over 35 alliances with manufacturers. So if you want to be a specific type of technician, like say you want to work for Porsche or BMW or Ford or GM or Mercedes-Benz, you can do that through UTI. We can give you the specialized training that you will need to make that possible for you.
Next question has to do with financial aid, Stephen. The caller raised the question, UTI, campuses are accredited because then our students can then be eligible for federal financial aid, correct?
That's correct. We're accredited through ACCSC, but we are also Title IV funded. So that means that the student will fill out a FAFSA to see what financial aid they qualify for. They will be assigned a financial aid advisor that will work with the student and the family to make sure everything we do, we involve the family as well, because this is a big undertaking for this family. This may be their first child to ever go to college or a school of any type. And so we package them. We look for all the scholarships and grants that they can qualify for and encourage them to apply for more things. And then, of course, the trip package, we talk about those at the end as well.
The next question, I think you touched upon it, but let's go back at it again. Housing assistance. Most of your campuses are what I would call are destination campuses. So we got students coming in from all over the country that the parents and the families will need to be able to get their students some housing assistance. Does UTI have that kind of assistance, those kinds of services?
Absolutely. We offer housing at every one of our campuses with the exception of the Bloomfield campus up in New Jersey. But they're not dorms, they are apartments that we lease. So they're only our students that are going to be there for that. And we put them in. The beauty of our housing is that, first of all, the lease is going to match the program. So you don't have to pay for more housing than you need. Number two, that you're only responsible for yourself. So you don't have to worry about your roommates or anything like that, not paying their bill or anything on those lines. They're also furnished, they're ready to go. So we try to make that as easy for the student as possible. And the best part is we help students to find employment while they're in school. That way they can offset some of these expenses too. Yeah. And then we offer housing grants and other ways to help students to get to school and with their housing while they're in school.
Great job. Really very clear and very concise. Let me, before we close, because we're trying to stay within our time limits here, go over some very quick administrative and follow-up procedures. The Imagine America Foundation has recorded this session and is going to be forwarding this session to all registrants, so they can listen to it again. You always miss something the first time through. You can pick that up. We're also going to be sending out a follow-up survey after this meeting. We would appreciate it if the participants would take the time to fill it out, give us their feedback on the sessions, so we can modify what we're doing going forward. Before we close, we want to thank all the participants for taking time out of their very busy schedules to join us today. Here at Imagine America, we very much value your time and are excited to announce that we now provide a certificate of completion to all of those who attended this session and listened to this webinar. If you send us an email, we'll be sure to get you that certificate of completion sent back to you, signed off by Universal Technical Institute and Imagine America Foundation, so that you can use it for your documentation internally for the session. I'd like to thank Dr. Coyle for another great presentation, sharing today's session with you, and encourage you to contact him directly. You've got his QR code, you've got his email, you've got his phone number, and any questions related to admissions and programs offered at Universal Technical Institutes. On behalf of the Imagine America Foundation, Lauren Cunningham, who really runs all of this, myself and Dr. Coyle, thank you, and we hope you have a great day. Goodbye.